The other movie I want to talk about, and maybe for some people this will be, going from the ridiculous to the sublime, is a movie that's currently streaming on the Criterion channel for another couple days. It is the Jean-Pierre Melville movie Army of Shadows. And last month, for a couple months, they had all of Jean-Pierre Melville's movies on Criterion channel, and now they're slowly taking them away. And I've worked my way through either watching for the first time or rewatching all of them, all of the features, except I did not rewatch The Red Circle. I missed it out. I missed out on it. So I have seen The Red Circle a couple times, but and I've seen Army of Shadows before too. But anyways, rewatching it, I'll silence my phone here. Rewatching it, I was thinking about a couple things with Army of Shadows, and one is, Melville has a lot of great movies, starting from the beginning, like Les Enfants Terribles, which is a great, amazingly directed movie. It's a world historically great movie, but it's really a Jean Cocteau movie. Bob Le Flambeur is one of the great crime movies of all time. But he's also sort of one of these guys who not only made great movies, but I think he almost invented. It's always hard to say someone invented it because someone's like, well, someone else did this first, or he's really borrowing from X, Y, or Z, and so that's true. But I think, should get credit for perfecting or being the conduit through which this kind of genre or subgenre of movies kind of passed on to the next generation of filmmakers, and that genre is this. I want to. The word existential is overused, but these existential crime movies. So movies where criminals are seen as movies where criminals are used allegorically for kind of existential in this kind of existential dilemma. So we're supposed to watch movies like Le Delot or Le Samurais, I guess the main one, the big one, where we're not, The Samurai is about a hitman, and we're not supposed to approve of him being a hitman or that he's killing people, but we're supposed to admire his ethics and his honor and his code of his kind of the honor among thieves and the kind of code that they have. He made a number of those movies. So those two, he made Le Deuxième Souffle and The Red Circle, and they're all pretty interesting. I think they're good movies. I think some of them are great movies. Like I say, they have this influence on movies that came after, like John Woo's movies about Honorable Hitman, and Walter Hill's great movie The Driver, Heat, Michael Mann, Thief, and Heat. All kind of come out of this school. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. He's kind of an interesting guy, and one way I've always thought about those movies in a way, or one thing I think about them, and it's not unique to me, other people have said this too, is that the subtext for them is that they're coming out of they're about criminals, but they're really about his reaction to the French resistance. So being in occupied France and being a part of the resistance, and the thieves and the criminals are meant to kind of stand in for members of the resistance and are have that allegorical sense that they've got to stick to a code. You need to stick to a code even when the whole world around you is falling apart, or is you're in a state of war. You need to stick to that code, and that's what those movies are about. So Army of Shadows is interesting because it's very similar to these crime movies, and it has a lot of the same actors as his crime movies, but it is actually about the resistance. So in some ways, it's like he took the subtext of those movies and is making a movie now where it's the text. But it is a little bit different. It's a very odd movie in a way because it's about the members of the resistance, but whereas in the crime movies, we actually see the criminal activities are shown in some detail. Like there's this great heist in Unflick, for example, this great train heist that the movie goes into really a lot of detail on how it kind of goes down. There's a big heist in The Red Circle and the armored car robbery in Le Deuxième Souffle. So all of these movies are really pay a lot of attention to the details about how those things work. In Army of Shadows, we don't see any action by the resistance against the Germans or against the occupiers. What we do see are members of the resistance being imprisoned and trying to get out of prison. We see members of the resistance being tortured and interrogated. We see members of the resistance trying to avoid capture. And then most importantly, we see members of the resistance killing traitors to the resistance. So resistant members who've named names or who've given up names, we see those murders. Those are the key things. So it's kind of an interesting movie in that sense, that he's kind of reduced the importance of resistance to those things, to not necessarily doing anything, not necessarily fighting the Germans, but rather to maintaining a code and trying to like live up to this code. I think it's very interesting. It's a powerful movie. I think it's worth seeing. I could say a lot more about it, but that's kind of mainly what I wanted to say about it today, that it's this it is interesting in that respect of what it does with this idea of resistance and how it plays off some of his earlier crime movies. So that's what I have to say today. This is today's episode, and I'll be hopefully doing a couple more of these, and hopefully catch up as I have time. As other obligations allow. So that's all I have for today. Take care.